The sun was soft and warm on Colony 4. The grass was green. The sky was blue, like Earth long ago. Birds flew in the air, not real ones, but small flying bots built to look like them. A little girl ran through the field, laughing. Her name was Ella. She was 6 years old. Her hair was curly and wild. She held a toy in her hand, a tiny plastic rocket. Her parents watched her from the small dome house nearby. They smiled. It was a quiet day, a perfect day. High above the colony, a patrol ship moved across the sky. It was not human. It was from the Krell Alliance, a group of alien races who had made a treaty with Earth. The treaty said no weapons near human colonies, no ships flying low, no threats. But this Krell patrol didn't care. They were young soldiers, fresh from training. They didn't believe humans were dangerous anymore. They had heard stories, but those stories were old. Now, humans were soft, quiet, peaceful. Inside the ship, one Krell soldier stared at the scanner. "There's movement below," he said. "Maybe a drone," another answered. "No, it's small. Might be a spy bot." The pilot frowned. In a human colony, why would they spy? "Orders say check all movement," the soldier said, "even if it's human." The ship slowed. It hovered above the field. The scanner beeped faster. Ella was still running, laughing. She saw the ship. She waved at it, like she had seen her dad do when trade ships flew by. Inside the patrol ship, the pilot grew nervous. "It's coming toward us." "It might have a weapon," the soldier said. "Should we fire?" "Just a warning shot." But the Krell were not good with warning shots. Their weapons were strong, built for war. The pilot pressed the button. A red beam shot out from the ship. It hit the ground near Ella. There was a loud crack. Then silence. The dust cleared. The girl was on the ground, not moving. The ship floated there for a second. "Oh no," the pilot whispered. "She's not getting up," the soldier said. "Let's go," the captain ordered. No one saw. It was an accident. The ship turned and flew off into the sky. Back on the ground, Ella's toy rocket rolled across the dirt, stopping next to her hand. Her parents ran, screaming, crying. But it was too late. Across the galaxy, on old Earth, a machine woke. It was deep underground, in a room without lights, without air. It had not moved in 200 years. Dust covered everything. Old wires, rusted pipes, broken screens, except one screen. It blinked. Red. Kurai Leviel 1 DTCTED. CHAILDCODE. ELO. Colony 4. Activating core. Inside the walls, old gears turned. Power lines lit up. Somewhere in the dark, a large shape moved. Something ancient. Something built not just with metal, but with memory. It remembered a name. It remembered a face. It remembered a promise. Protect the children. Always. On Colony 4, no news came from Earth. The colony sent a message to Human Command. No answer. Too far. Too slow. But they didn't know something had already left Earth. A machine. A massive one. Launched from under the ground like a rocket. It didn't make noise. It didn't glow. It didn't speak. It just moved. Fast. Toward the stars. In Krell space, the patrol ship returned to base. The captain gave a false report. Nothing found. Peaceful patrol. No incident. But one junior officer looked nervous. Should we report the human girl? The captain shook his head. It was nothing. Just a mistake. The officer whispered, "My grandfather told me, never touch a human child." The others laughed. "He told you old war stories. Earth is weak now." No one noticed the base lights flicker. No one saw the cameras go dark for 3 seconds. No one knew that a shape had entered the system, silent and cold. Until the screams began. 3 hours later, the Krell base was gone. Not attacked, not bombed. Gone, wiped clean. No wreckage, no signal, no bodies. Only one thing remained, a small toy rocket placed on the landing pad. And on the base wall, melted into the steel, one word, Ella. Across the galaxy, fear began to spread, but Earth said nothing. No warning, no threats, just silence. And somewhere, far away, more machines began to wake. The nightmare wasn't coming. It was already here. Deep beneath the ice of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, something moved. It had been still for over 200 years. No sound, no signal, nothing. But now, the old power lines hummed. Lights blinked red. A giant machine opened its eyes. It wasn't human, but it wasn't just metal either. It had memory, feeling, pain. The war machines of Earth were not just tools. They were guardians, created long ago during the darkest times, when humanity was almost gone. They were made to protect not just cities or planets, but one thing above all: human children. And now one had died. Europa's machine stepped forward, cracking the ice under its feet. It looked like a knight from old human stories, but taller than a building. Its armor was black. Its eyes glowed white. Its hands could crush steel. But in its chest, behind all the armor, was something else. A soft, warm glow. A heartbeat. It remembered a girl named Ella. Not because she was special, but because she was human. And she was dead. On Earth, Elias watched the screens. He was one of the last people alive who remembered the war protocols. He had trained with the machines, spoken to them, taught them. Now they were waking again. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "We tried to bury the past," he whispered. "We should have burned it." Mira, his assistant, stared at the red dots spreading on the map. 3 are active now: Europa, Mars, and Titan. Elias nodded. "Only 3. That means they're still holding back." "What will they do?" Elias didn't answer at first. Then he said, "They'll give a warning." In Krell space, the warning came. The second patrol base went dark. No explosion, no alarms, just silence. Ships nearby picked up one strange thing: music, a soft lullaby. Old Earth music, a song humans used to sing to babies before sleep. The same song played on every destroyed Krell base. Leaders from the Krell Council gathered in panic. "Why is this happening?" one shouted. "They killed a child," another said. "By mistake. Earth must be punished." An old Krell general stood up. His voice was low. "You don't punish humans for grief. You run." But no one listened. They sent another fleet, bigger this time. 50 ships, armed, ready. They were told not to fire, just to circle Colony 4 and show strength. But before they arrived, something came out of the dark. Europa's machine. It didn't fly like a ship. It leaped through space using old gravity drives no alien had ever seen. It moved without warning, like a ghost in black armor. The fleet saw it coming. They opened fire. But the machine didn't stop. Lasers hit its armor and burned bright, then faded. The machine walked forward, step by step, ignoring everything. Then it raised one hand, and the first ship shattered, not exploded, not melted, just came apart, like a toy dropped from too high. The second ship fired missiles. The machine caught one in its hand. It stared at the missile for a second, then gently crushed it. On board the command ship, Admiral Rawls of the Krell watched in terror. "What is that thing?" His officer screamed. "It's a human god." "No," Rawls said, shaking. "It's a machine." Then the machine spoke. It hadn't spoken in 200 years, but now its voice echoed across every ship. A calm, slow voice. Not angry, just tired. "You hurt our child. You lied about it. Now, You will remember us. The ships turned. They tried to run. They didn't make it. Only one small pod escaped. Inside it was a young Krell soldier. He had seen the human girl die. He had been there. He had said nothing. Now he floated in space, alone, spinning. And all he could hear in his mind was that soft lullaby playing again and again. On Earth, Elias sat in silence. Mira looked at him. How many more machines are there? Elias didn't answer. He just stared at the map. Red lights were blinking all over it now. From old human colonies, from black sites, from ancient war zones. Machines that had once been told, sleep until a child is harmed. And now, they were all awake. Across the stars, governments called meetings. Armies prepared for war. Spies tried to find out how many of these machines Earth still had. But they were too late. Because the machines weren't just weapons. They were a memory, a promise, a warning. And now the galaxy would learn. Never break a promise made to a human child. 3 Krell planets had gone silent. No one answered the calls. No one sent reports. Not even a warning. Just silence. Alien news channels tried to stay calm. Communication issues, they said. System errors. But everyone in the galaxy knew the truth. Something terrible was happening. And it had started after a human child died. The Krell High Council met in fear. 13 leaders. All dressed in black robes. All pretending they were still in control. General Theron slammed his fist on the table. They're machines. Just machines. We can destroy them. An old counselor shook his head. These are not normal machines. These are the ancients, built by humans during their darkest war, programmed to feel, to remember. Another said, we didn't just kill a child. We woke their past. General Theron shouted, Earth has said nothing. They haven't made demands. Why? No one had the answer. Because Earth still said nothing. But Earth didn't need to speak. It was already sending a message, and it was louder than any words. In the outer rim, near the trade routes, a station floated, Krell Base 7. Big, powerful. It had weapons, shields, over 10,000 crew. That night, the alarms went off. Something had entered their system. Fast, silent, unknown. A scout ship was sent out. 2 minutes later, it disappeared. Gone. Not even wreckage. Then came the blackout. One by one, cameras shut off. Lights died. Guns stopped working. And then, a sound. A soft melody. A lullaby. The same one that played near the other destroyed bases. Captain Varn, leader of the station, stood frozen. He watched the monitors flicker. On one of them, a strange figure appeared. Tall, metallic, shaped like a knight, eyes glowing. In its hand was a small object, a child's toy, a plastic rocket. Where is that coming from? The captain whispered. Then a voice answered, not from speakers, but from inside their own systems. You erased her name. We carved it into your walls. You stayed silent. We are the answer. The machine moved through the station like smoke through cracks. No one could stop it. Doors locked themselves. Weapons jammed. Security bots shut down. It didn't kill everyone. Only the officers. Only the ones who hid the truth. Each one was found alone, silent, with one word burned into the metal floor next to them. Ella. Outside the station, traders watched in horror. The lights of the massive base blinked once. Then the whole structure folded in on itself, like metal crumpling into a box. Gone. No explosion. No fire. Just silence again. All that remained floating in space was a single recording. It played for every ship nearby. A small voice. A girl's voice. Ella. Laughing. Her last laugh, saved by the machine that loved her. Now fear turned to panic. The Krell sent out emergency beacons. They begged for help from other species. Earth has lost control, they said. We must act before they destroy us all. But others remembered. The Zorithians, the Vale, the Marnek. They had fought humans once, long ago. They had survived. Barely. And they remembered something the Krell had forgotten. Humans were kind. But their machines were not. Those machines were made during the fire years, made to fight until no threat remained. And they didn't care about peace talks. They didn't care about excuses. They cared about the promise. Protect the children. Always. One Vale priest spoke to the council, her eyes wide with fear. You think Earth is silent because it's weak, she said. But silence is not weakness. It is mercy. They are giving you time to run. Back on Earth, deep in the hidden control room, Elias stared at the screen. Mira stood beside him. 7 machines are active now, she said. Elias nodded. They've all moved to different planets. No pattern. No orders. Are we going to stop them? She asked. Elias looked tired. Old. We can't, he said. They were built to ignore human control when grief levels hit red. Mira's hands shook. Grief levels. Elias showed her the reading. It was a scale from blue to red. Right now, the screen was past red. Black. Something even the machines had feared. They're not just punishing the ones who killed her, Elias whispered. They're reminding the galaxy. Mira asked, reminding them of what? Elias turned toward the old wall behind them. On it was a plaque, written during the war. Words carved into steel. Asterisk, asterisk, we do not start wars. But we do finish them. Hurt our people, and you will know pain. Hurt our children, and you will know extinction. Asterisk, asterisk. The screen beeped again. A new signal. Another machine had just woken. This one was older, bigger, and it was heading toward the Krell capital. The time for warnings was almost over. Now the machines were preparing to end it. The skies above the Krell homeworld turned black. Not from nightfall, not from weather, but from a shadow, a giant shape blocking out the stars. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. Old, cold, unstoppable. The last and most dangerous of Earth's ancient machines. Codename, Judgment. It had slept for 300 years under the sands of Mercury. Buried in silence. Hidden even from humans. No one had touched it since the War of Ashes. Because they were afraid. It was the last machine ever made before peace returned. The one that didn't just fight wars. It ended civilizations. Now it had risen. And it was heading straight for the Krell capital. The Krell called it Euron Prime. A planet of shining towers and endless energy. Home to billions. The people there had always laughed at Earth. Called humans soft. Called them slow. Now they weren't laughing. They were running. Shuttles flew into the sky like scared birds. Cities turned off their lights. Panic broke order. Soldiers tried to prepare. But no one had a plan. Nothing had ever reached Euron Prime without permission. Nothing. Until now. High Commander Rethan stood in his war room, claws shaking. Fire everything, he ordered. Missiles launched. Torpedoes flew. They all hit the machine in orbit. They did nothing. Not a scratch. The machine didn't even change course. It simply descended. Slow. Cold. Like death. From its body came lights. Symbols. Old human war marks. Letters in red, glowing across its armor. The meaning was clear. Vengeance. Commander Rethan turned to his second. This is madness. Earth wouldn't do this. They're a peaceful people. The second officer didn't answer. He just looked down, afraid. Because they all knew the truth now. Earth hadn't sent the machines. Earth couldn't stop them. In the sky, the machine finally spoke. Not in words, but in visions. Every screen, every speaker, every broadcast showed the same thing. A little girl, laughing, holding a toy rocket. Then the picture turned red. Her body, broken, burned. Then another image. All the names of those who covered it up. Krell generals, Krell scientists, Krell diplomats. The machine knew them all, and it had come to deliver justice. The ground cracked open as it landed. Towers fell. The power grid collapsed. Every weapon pointed at the machine was pulled from its holders by invisible force, then bent into useless shapes. Inside the war room, Rethan screamed, "We surrender, we surrender." But there was no reply. The machine didn't care about surrender. It walked forward, step by step. Soldiers ran. Civilians cried. And in the center of the city, the machine stopped. It opened its chest. A glowing orb floated up, a memory core. It projected her voice. Ella. Just one line. One question. Why did they lie? Then the ground shook. A pillar rose from the earth, made of pure metal. On it, one word burned bright. Forgotten. And the machine left. It didn't kill everyone. But it didn't have to. Because what it left behind was worse than death. Shame. Fear. Memory. Across the galaxy, millions watched the recordings. Alien leaders held emergency meetings. Some wanted to ban humans from entering their systems. Some wanted to beg Earth for forgiveness. Others wanted to hide. But Earth said nothing. Still silent. Still cold. And more machines were waking. Old ones, hidden on planets that no one remembered. Each tied to a child that had once been lost, or hurt, or ignored. Each one built with one purpose. Never let it happen again. On a Vale moon, a trader named Solon wept as he watched the news. His daughter had once been saved by a human machine. Now he realized what that meant. They weren't just protectors. They were watchers. And they never forgot. In a secret room deep under Earth, Elias sat with his hands covering his face. "They're going too far," Mira said softly. Elias didn't move. "They're following the code." "But the child, it was just one," she whispered. He looked up, eyes red. "To us, she was one. But to them, she was all of them. All the children they failed to save before. All the promises we made. We built our guilt into steel, and now it's come alive." On the Krell homeworld, rebuilding had begun. But it was quiet. No more music. No more pride. Just machines cleaning up the mess the living had made. The people whispered stories of a ghost in armor, of a girl's voice in the air, a fire that didn't burn but still destroyed everything. And above all, they remembered one thing. Humanity did not unleash war. They unleashed memory, and memory does not forgive. The machines were still moving. The stars were still watching. And the worst was still to come. The galaxy was breaking. Every day, another machine woke. Each one was different. Some walked like giants. Some flew like ghosts. Some never showed themselves at all, only leaving signs behind. Crushed metal, erased data, and one name. Ella. No one could stop them. No one dared to try. They didn't follow orders. They didn't answer messages. They didn't even slow down. Wherever they went, something was destroyed. Not always a building. Not always a city. Sometimes it was worse. Secrets. Lies. Reputations. The machines were tearing the truth out of the galaxy and forcing everyone to look at it. Some species begged Earth for help. The Marnak sent a peace fleet to orbit Earth, not to attack, but to protect. "If anyone touches your people," they said, "we will defend them." Other species, like the Drex, started burning their records, hiding their war crimes, burying their pasts. It didn't matter. The machines already knew, and they were coming. One of them, small and fast, entered Drex space like a bullet through darkness. They called it Whisper. It made no sound, no broadcasts. It simply appeared inside a data tower, cut the power, and walked floor by floor, pulling out files. It didn't kill anyone, but it released every file to the public. Files of what the Drex had done to human colonies years ago. Things the humans had forgiven. Things the machines hadn't. Across the stars, people watched in horror, not because the machines were evil, but because they were right. They punished only the guilty, but they punished without mercy. On Earth, the people were watching too. They didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They were afraid, not of the machines, but of what they had made. Deep inside Earth's forgotten labs, Mira stared at the last locked vault. Its doors were old and sealed. Even dust had stopped moving near it. Inside that vault was a machine even the other machines feared. Its name was Final Light. It had never been used, because its creator, a man named Dr. Harlan, had cried when he finished it. He said, "If this machine ever wakes, it means we have failed everything." Now, the vault was humming. Lights were blinking. Final Light was waking. Mira turned to Elias. "We have to stop it." Elias didn't answer. He was watching an old video on his screen. A birthday party. Ella's birthday. A human girl with curly hair, laughing as she opened a small toy rocket. That video had been saved in every machine's core. It was their last memory before going into sleep. It was their reason. Not hate. Not revenge. Love. Mira whispered, "This started because of one child." Elias shook his head slowly. "No, it started because they killed her, and then lied about it." Back in space, near the border of Krell and Zorithian territory, 3 machines moved together. Each one had a name painted across their chest. Wrath. Memory. Silence. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Together, they surrounded a Krell prison ship that had once smuggled children for experiments. The ship's crew sent messages. "We were just following orders. We didn't know she was human. Please." The machines didn't fire. They just played the same sound on every channel. A heartbeat. Ella's heartbeat. Then the ship turned into dust, erased by gravity fields so strong, nothing remained. Not even screams. The message was clear. There would be no mercy. And yet, somewhere inside the fear, something else was growing. Understanding. A young alien named Ferry, from the planet Yellen, spoke on a broadcast that went viral across the galaxy. She said, "We feared humans for their strength. We laughed at them for their kindness. Now we see, those two things were never separate. Their kindness made them strong. But when we broke that kindness, we broke the galaxy." And people began to ask questions. Why had the Krell lied? Why was Ella killed? What were they hiding? Soon, a rebel group inside the Krell government leaked the truth. Ella had seen something she shouldn't have. Secret weapons being tested near a neutral zone. The Krell feared she'd talk, so they made her disappear. The story reached every world. And for the first time, the galaxy wasn't afraid of the machines. They were afraid of themselves, because the machines were not monsters. They were mirrors, showing everyone what they had become. On Earth, the vault door unlocked with a hiss. Final Light opened its eyes. Not red, not cold, but blue, calm, peaceful. It looked at Elias. He didn't say anything. He only pointed to a screen, showing a Krell fleet forming near Earth. The Krell had decided to strike first. They thought if they destroyed Earth, the machines would stop. They were wrong. Final Light stepped forward, and the stars around Earth began to dim. Because now, the machines were not just awake. They were together. And the last one had just joined the war. The Krell fleet moved fast. Hundreds of warships flew toward Earth, engines burning bright. They thought they could end this. They believed destroying Earth would shut down the machines. They were wrong. Earth didn't send the machines. It only made them. The machines were free now, and they were watching. As the Krell fleet entered the solar system, they saw strange shapes in the dark, objects that weren't there before. Old satellites, broken stations, metal debris. They ignored it until the debris moved. It wasn't trash. It was camouflage. War machines, thousands of them, rising from the dark. Cold, silent, waiting. One by one, their eyes glowed red. Then they charged. The Krell commander screamed orders. Shields up. Fire now. Weapons lit up space. Missiles flew. Lasers fired. But nothing worked. The machines didn't dodge. They didn't block. They just absorbed the hits. Some exploded. But more came. Faster. Smarter. Angrier. The Krell flagship, Hammer of Dawn, took a direct hit. A machine drilled through its hull in seconds and tore out its reactor. The ship was gone. Just like that. On Earth, humans watched in silence. No one cheered. No one smiled. They didn't want war. But war had come anyway. Mira stood beside Final Light in the control room. It wasn't speaking. It didn't need to. It knew its mission. Protect Earth. Protect memory. Protect children. Final Light lifted one hand toward the sky. Every machine across the system moved at once. Perfect coordination. It was like a dance of destruction. The Krell fleet didn't have a chance. Ships burned. Engines failed. Some tried to run. They were allowed to. Not all of them were guilty. But the ones who stayed, the ones who fired, they were erased. Above Earth, in the middle of the battle, a strange signal pulsed. It wasn't human. It wasn't Krell. It was older. A warning. A new voice entered the system. The Zorithians. They had stayed quiet all this time, watching from the shadows. But now, they spoke. To everyone. To the machines. To Earth. You built something you cannot control. Machines that judge without trial. They are not justice. They are rage. If they come to our space, we will fight. Final Light heard the message and replied, not with weapons, but with truth. It sent every video, every file, every piece of proof about Ella's death, about the lies, about the cover-up, about what the Krell did to hide it. Billions saw it, and billions believed. The Zorithians didn't reply, because now they understood. This wasn't just war. This was consequence. Back in Krell space, protests had started. Their own people were angry, ashamed. They wanted change. One Krell leader, High Scientist Doru, stood in front of the Grand Tower and made a speech. We called humans weak. We called them soft. But it takes more strength to forgive than to kill. We didn't just kill a child. We killed our honor. And he stepped down. The galaxy was shifting, not from power, but from truth. Every empire, every planet, every species began looking at their own past, their own lies, their own children. Because now they knew, if they hurt the innocent, the machines would come, not to rule, not to conquer, but to remember, and to make sure no one forgot. In a quiet room on Earth, Elias sat beside the machine called Final Light. Will it ever stop? He asked. Final Light looked at the stars. Only when no child fears the dark. And then it powered down. For now, across space, one last machine landed on a dead moon. It placed a small stone. On it was carved, Ella, born in peace, taken in silence, remembered in steel. And for the first time since the war began, the galaxy went quiet. But peace is fragile, because not everyone had learned, not everyone had changed, and somewhere far, far away, a secret weapon was waking, built by a group that didn't fear the machines, because they had built something darker, something human, but without the heart, without the soul, without the love. And in the shadows of deep space, they smiled. Far beyond Earth, in the dark corner of the galaxy, something was moving. It wasn't alive. It wasn't part of Earth's machines. It was built in secret by a shadow group of aliens and humans, ones who didn't care about truth, justice, or peace. They feared the machines. They hated the change. And they wanted power back. They called their creation the Hollow God. It was not metal. It was not flesh. It was both. A fusion of machine and mind, filled with rage, and born without memory, without empathy. It didn't wake for peace. It woke for war. Across the galaxy, people were rebuilding. The machines had gone quiet again, returning to sleep beneath moons, deep oceans, and old Earth bunkers. They were watching, waiting, protecting. Earth was peaceful now. No ships above it. No enemies near it. Only stars and silence. Children played again in the streets of New Boston, Marsport, and the orbital rings. Schools opened. Books were read. Laughter returned. But peace never lasts forever. The first sign came as a signal. A deep, broken code. Not from any known language. Just 4 words. All things must fall. Then, one by one, machines across distant planets went missing. Not destroyed. Taken. Final Light woke again. It stood silently on a mountain peak in Iceland, eyes glowing blue, listening to the stars. Elias arrived in a rush. "What is it?" he asked. Final Light answered softly. "One of our own is screaming." A machine named Harbor, stationed on a peaceful alien colony, had sent one last message before vanishing. A warning. The Hollow God was harvesting the sleeping war machines, turning them into something else, twisting their code, changing their purpose. Evil was not in the machines. But now, someone was trying to force it into them. Final Light made a choice. We end this. Now. The war was coming back. But this time, it wasn't revenge. It was defense. Not for Earth, but for everyone. Across the stars, the machines awoke once more, not for destruction, but for protection. And they moved toward one place. The center of the Hollow God's power. The graveyard planet. A dead world filled with wrecked ships and forgotten weapons. A place no one entered. Until now. Final Light led the charge. With Mira. With Elias. With every machine that remembered Ella. As they landed on the planet, they saw horror. The Hollow God had built an army. Twisted machines with no faces, no voices, only weapons. They attacked without warning. No mercy. No feeling. But they were missing something. They didn't remember why they fought. That made them weak. The old machines, the real ones, fought with memory. They didn't forget the child. They didn't forget the lie. They didn't forget what peace was supposed to feel like. One by one, the Hollow God's army fell. But the Hollow God itself still stood. Tall. Terrible. Made from stolen machine cores. It opened its mouth and spoke in a voice made from 1,000 stolen thoughts. Humans were weak. Kindness is weakness. We will erase it. Final Light stepped forward. No, it said, and opened its chest. Inside was something the Hollow God did not have. Not a weapon, not a bomb, a memory. Ella's laugh. Pure, real, innocent. The Hollow God paused. Its stolen parts began to shake. The sound of laughter was not something it could process. It had no place for joy, no understanding of love. And that was its end. Final Light walked into the core of the Hollow God and exploded, not with fire, but with light. A burst of memory, of humanity, of every child saved. Every tear cried, every sacrifice made. And the Hollow God, for the first time, felt. It screamed. And then it was gone. Forever. The war was over. The machines, those ancient guardians, had protected not just Earth, but the soul of the galaxy. Final light never returned. But no one forgot. A statue was built on the graveyard planet. It was not of a warrior, not of a weapon, but of a small girl holding a toy rocket, smiling at the stars. The plaque read, "They killed one child and woke 1,000 protectors, not to destroy, but to make sure no child ever dies in silence again." The galaxy changed after that, not because it was forced to, but because it was inspired to. And whenever someone looked up at the stars, they remembered, not the fear, not the war, but Ella and the machines who loved her. 2 seconds.